Good evening, everyone. Good morning to those of you the other side of the dateline. Welcome to the Worldwide Passive House Happy Hour. This party is hosted by Passive House Accelerator. My name is Monty Paulson. I lead the Passive House team at RDH Building Science, and I'm one of a few co-hosts of this party. You've already met our first co-host, Sean Santamora, our official greeter. And on his instructions, before we go any further, let's all have a cheer to Sean and each other. Toast everyone, click your screens as you see fit, but cheers to everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! Woo!
Coffee's okay, right?
Anything.
That works.
It's all good. Really privileged tonight to introduce Michelle Apigian, who leads the sustainability practice at Icon Architecture. She's a passionate advocate for high quality, low energy, resilient built environment that is focused on people, health, comfort, and durability. And I want to add, this is a call with a lot of people who are used to being the smartest person in the room. Make note, this woman actually has a master's degree from MIT. Michelle.
Yes, I have a degree from MIT, but wow, so many people there are smarter than I am. I feel very much like I am a member of a community, and that's how we get it done. So today I want to talk about the project that we now have under construction, which just started in a couple months ago. And I want to talk about how we're actually working to implement that, because we have a contractor who's never taken a passive house course of any type. We have a client who's never built a passive house project. I mean, and those are kind of typical scenarios. And so we are trying to connect the dots, and I feel that these are the critical elements to connecting the dots, having now built two and on my third, which are communication, a lot of humility, appreciation, and mentorship. And this is, I apologize, I didn't do this as a PowerPoint, so I'm just going to scroll. But I want to say that just to kind of set the landscape very, very briefly, Massachusetts has been really focused on advocacy work and has been lucky to have several great incentives come into place in the last year through the Mass Community Investment Corporation, and also through Mass Save, our utility programming, that are sponsoring some passive house projects and have actually incented them with, in the first case, $4,000 a unit, and in the second case, $3,000 a unit for both affordable and multifamily. And I think that's important because we have seen a huge shift in interest because of those incentives. So for those of you who can affect policy, policy is really, really important. It's not where I spend the vast majority of my energy, but it's important. The first project that was a recipient of those 8 projects is in Cambridge, and it is now beyond air barrier and just about to wrap up if we could ever get back to construction. It's literally weeks away from opening 98 units of affordable housing in Cambridge. And so we're eager to get that done. And I was on site punch listing today, and wow, that was a whole new interesting experience to be on site in this moment. But the project I want to talk about today is 30 units, also affordable housing. The second project that was the recipient of these funds. And it started construction in January after getting funded through our state tax credit program. And if you look at the project here, I just want to take a pause. Everyone take a look. This is intended to look not special. It's intended to look like it was built there 100 years ago. that's what this community needs in their hometown. And I want to show you why. So this is in Gloucester, Massachusetts. It's a small town. It's a working town. And when you zoom in, there it is on the port. It's a beautiful, beautiful low-rise community. It's a very working class community. And this is, like, you know, what Main Street looks like. This is, it's low scale. It's very quaint and charming. It's been there for 100 years. Here we are, more of Main Street, more of Main Street. And so we spent 13 months going through the zoning process to get this project approved, because affordable housing seemed a little uncomfortable to this community. So here is the location of the building that we are starting construction on. And again, this is what it will look like. And what I want to really talk about is how communication, humility, appreciation, and mentorship really factor into getting it done, because we are not a design build firm. We have to partner with contractors, and our clients need to partner with contractors, and they do their best to go through that process in whatever way makes sense. But ultimately, you won't be successful if the builder is not a partner. And that takes work, and it takes intention on the part of the rest of our team. And so I would just want to briefly reflect. We're almost done again with my project in Cambridge. My daughter is saying hello briefly. Do you want to just step in? No, okay. But you know, we all know the air barrier is critical, right? So, like, please, let's respect the people installing the air barrier. It's everything. This is Caio's team. Caio's team rocked the air barrier in our project in Cambridge. And you need to give respect to people who do the work in real time. This is Ian. Ian worked hard and didn't always get it right, you know, to get our penetrations through the slab on that project. He's a human, and he runs the team, and those people matter. And this is Eric's team, and Eric is installing all the ductwork for our VRF system and our ERV and everything in between. And we've been testing it at every level, and he takes great pride in that. And I know that we're here for the details, and I'm about to jump to the details, but I want to say that people really, really, really matter. And when they know they're respected and they're appreciated and valued for the work that they do, I think we can get more out of them. So moving on, here is, you know, here's the, like, seriously techie stuff. Here in Gloucester, much to my dismay, we will not be using mineral wool for our exterior insulation. We are using 2 inches of continuous rigid insulation, and that is because we needed to have a brick facade in this community, and we ultimately made our way toward thin brick, which needs a certain substrate to make its way. And so thin brick needs something rigid, and mineral wool wasn't that. So here will be my first passive house project that we're using rigid insulation. Otherwise, it's not really surprising. You all know the details, but I want to give you the lay of the land here. So here's the site. It's extremely tight. It's immediately abutting on this side, and it's immediately abutting on this side, and it's immediately abutting on this side. And so we need to sneak in a parking lot, and we need to sneak in some first floor space, and it's really complicated. In an ideal world, don't do it this way. In an ideal world, the whole building would be a passive house building, but that's not where we landed. Where we landed was that most of the first floor is technically outside the passive house envelope because it's commercial space and we don't know who's renting that space. And for quite a while, it looked like it would be a restaurant, which created even other questions and curiosities, but that's probably not going to happen. But so we've got 3 individual commercial spaces. We've got a lobby right here for the residential. It comes in through a vestibule that's outside the envelope, and then you come through the passive house door and you're technically in the envelope. But the lobby ties to office space and other spaces that are important to the owner. And then there are residential spaces, and then there's all this parking that's underneath a good chunk of the building. And up above, and apologies, these are just working drawings, but up above, it's just a bunch of units. We all know how to do this. This is not special. It's just a bunch of units. But down below, it's really, really, really complicated. So how do you get from down below to up above? And that, I think, is what we've been focused on. So on our last project, we created this signage. We happen to have gone with SIGA. We're working with SIGA again here. So we embraced SIGA and we went with this sort of don't pop the balloon messaging. And I frankly think it didn't do a thing, but it made me feel better. We did it. We put it up all over the building. We tried to message. Again, I don't know that this made any difference at all. What I do think makes difference is talking to your contractor and looking at the 3-week look ahead and saying, what's coming? And in our case, what's coming and what's coming relative to the upcoming passive house detailing that we know is important and takes sequencing and collaboration. And so we had a call 2 weeks ago, which went great, where we said, okay, look, we're looking at the first aspect that might touch our passive house envelope. It's stair 2. That's coming out of the ground first. What's that going to take? What's that going to look like? Which trades are going to be involved? And we developed a series of 3-dimensional, just axonometric drawings that said, okay, here's stair 2 in our plan. It has a lot of faces, and frankly, every single one of them is connected to something outside the passive house envelope. Again, not my preference, not what we should do. We can all talk about lessons learned there, but here's where we are. So how do you separate from an airtightness perspective, recognizing that we are adjacent to adiabatic spaces that are not thermal issues necessarily, but are airtightness issues? And so we started with just walking the contractor on the phone last week through, okay, first you're gonna put the footings in, and then you're gonna put the foundation walls, and you're gonna add your waterproofing. Everyone on board? Great. Next, we're gonna have to install some steel posts that are gonna support the stair and the structure above. And those steel posts in this particular wall can't get fireproofed in a typical way because we don't have the space for that. So they need intumescent paint. We own this in the drawings. All of this is owned in the drawings. And it was described at length in plans and sections. But now we're really diving into, okay, who's touching what when? And so we were on the call saying, well, okay, is anything out of sequence for you so far with my contractor? And they were saying, no, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do the footings, we're gonna do the foundation walls, we're gonna put the posts in. Okay, now we're gonna start to install the CMU, and we're gonna, we're gonna look at what's happening at the slab. And so we're working to think about how we communicate articulately and clearly in a way that isn't frightening. It's not, it's just precise. It's just really, so it's not to overwhelm. And I think that's one of the things we're learning. We don't have contractors who are used to having built a passive house project. And when they hear that terminology, their instinct is to be afraid and to throw extra money at that. So we're now having conversations with the contractor that say, which trades have to be on board for this process? Is this anything out of the ordinary? And if not, great. We don't even need to have to talk about it. But if it is, then let's talk about the sequence. And so far, I don't think we're there, but here we're hitting kind of a new territory where we're going to tell you to take the subslab, and it's not really the insulation, but it's really the vapor barrier. We're going to leave that long so that we can tie it in to other things that are happening in the project. And this is really, I mean, this is a single example, and we have many, many more complicated examples in the project, but it's really to say, who has to talk about this, Who needs to leave it long? Which trade is on site? Who is coming in to do the next sequence? And we'll have to tie into that. And so we just want to get that communication happening before it's happening real time on site. So these yellow are actually tagging to details in our set, but now we're sort of saying, okay, here's the detail that we showed and that you own, but this is what we really meant by that detail. And frankly, on my last project, many times we had to retool that detail because it just didn't work. It didn't work construction-wise or sequence-wise or otherwise. And that's where humility comes in, because I don't know what works best. We need to talk together. I know what's important, and others may know how it gets done, and we need to have those conversations. And so we work our way up. So we've got CMU walls, and we've got an air barrier, and we're leaving it long, and we're tying it up. And now we've got an air barrier that has to be tied in at those connection points with the next sequence, which is above our CMU walls when we get to other materials. And again, tying back to details in the set, but just always kind of trying to understand the process, because we design in a bit of a vacuum, and then we put it out to the builder, and they are in real life trying to put it together. And so we really have to be partners, and we really have to talk about what that looks like and which trades are relevant. And so the next conversation that's going to happen around this is actually which trades are involved in this particular process, and they're going to be on the phone the next time. The first time it was with the contractor. The next time those subs will be on the phone, and they'll be talking through, well, can I do that? And what does that take? And if it doesn't work, then we're going to have to rethink it. And here I think if this is the whole process, and again, it's a lot of detail, and I'm not expecting you're all tuning into every aspect, but it's really to say, how do we kind of walk through this process and talk through it together as a team so that we are communicating effectively and making sure that we can get it done in the right order, in the right way. And I think, frankly, that's all I need to say for now.